Well, good afternoon, everyone, and we are going to go ahead and get started with our work session today on the Montgomery College CIP. I want to first start off by welcoming the newly minted president of Montgomery College, Dr. Jermaine Williams. He is joining us, and we're so happy to have him now ably leading the great historical reputation that Montgomery College has of being one of the best, if not the best, community colleges in the nation. Certainly one in which we always appreciate the great partnership between the college and Montgomery County, understanding how important a role that the college has continued to play in our community from a workforce development perspective, from an economic development perspective, and of course, from an education perspective. And certainly one in which during this pandemic, we've relied upon the college and the folks who have matriculated through the institution when it comes to understanding just how important it is with the great resignation, with folks retooling themselves and going on to different career pathways. Montgomery College has stood at the forefront in terms of ensuring that these kinds of things can happen effectively. And oh, by the way, when it comes to making sure that we're delivering on some of the workforce shortages that we have, Montgomery College has always been quick to be able to respond in ensuring that we can get those workforce built up in those particular areas. I also want to recognize that I know Councilmember Juwando and I, Councilmember Reamer, Council President Albornoz were at the ground, not grand opening, and but the beam laying, finalizing beam laying.
They call it topping off, right?
Topping off. Thank you, Councilmember Juwando. Topping off of the Catherine and Isaiah Leggett Math Science Building on the Tacoma Park campus, and so it's fitting that we're talking about CIP today, because it is incredibly important for us to recognize that the expectations that we have for Montgomery College are tied directly to the buildings that they have on their campuses, the various labs that they have to be able to offer their students to make sure that the same world-class education that's being given is giving in a world-class space. And so from that aspect, we want to make sure that they're commensurate with the level of learning and teaching that we see that's happening at Montgomery College. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez, but certainly want to thank all of our staff that are here today, Ms. Schramm, Mr. Collette, Ms. Madden, Mr. Mills, Mr. Pumarejo Murphy from OMB. We've got all the partners that are here today who really are focused on ensuring that we do everything to support the college that we can, but also that we're continuing to further this mission that makes sure that education continues to be lifted up. So before I turn it over to Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez, who of course obviously has always given us great packets of information that summarize many of the details that we need to move forward with and some of the decision points that we have. I also want to thank Mr. Levchenko for his assistance too as well when it comes to CIP, but did want to turn it over to you, Dr. Williams. This is your first opportunity from a formal perspective to be able to address the Education and Culture Committee. So certainly wanted to give you the opportunity to do so, sir.
Thank you very much, Council Member Rice. This is it's fantastic to be with everyone here today, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share a few words. And I'll try and sum up and start off by reinforcing what a great event on Friday. I mean, the weather was beautiful. It was fantastic. Student speaker, which is why we do what we do to advance education, advance the county, advance the diverse communities that we serve. And it was just such a pleasure to be in that place and space with both of you and other council members. Good afternoon, Council Member Navarro. It's a pleasure to meet you virtually. And I look forward to working with all of you to advance education and as we continue to move Montgomery County forward. And I'll just spend a few minutes as you share. This is my the first day of my third week here at Montgomery College, and I'm just thrilled and truly humbled to be here. So honored to be an MC at this critical time. And we've been the the community's college for 75 years, and we're launching into the next 75 years with great pride and excitement and an eye towards equity, as you know. And looking forward to working with leaders like you and across the county who put education first. And as you mentioned, the importance of the quality of facilities is just immense, right? We need to, and that's why we're here today, meaning that our community college students are deserving of high quality classrooms and labs. And I know that's what you're dedicated to. And the Leggett building says no matter where you are, no matter your zip code or your post-secondary path that you choose, quality facilities are accessible to you. And we're proud of that. In addition, I would add, after the last 2 years, I think we all know or have a deeper understanding, and probably knew before, the importance of technology to deliver high quality education. So again, I'm grateful to be here with you. I do want to thank Nicole Rodriguez Hernandez for her work on the packet and her collaboration with the college's budget team. Absolutely want to thank the Montgomery College team. Also thankful to the county executive capital budget that fully funds FY23 and meets most of our needs across the 6 years. And we're finally deep into the design phase for the renovation of our Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus, the library at that campus, which is fantastic. As an update, we did seek state aid for this project as requested, and those funds are in the governor's budget. Generally speaking, in terms of deferred maintenance projects, we are at the necessary funding levels, and as it's been shared with me, for the first time in many years, the funds for IT are at the requested levels. So that is fantastic. The county executive recommended $500,000 in FY24 to begin planning a campus in East County, and an exciting $3 million just over for FY23 to stand up an education center in this underserved region. So another point of pride and excitement for us. We are, with that said, and going back to the Leggett building, we are seeking your support with cost escalations for the Leggett building. Nicole has been extremely helpful in working on a solution to find funds to address this challenge. Additionally, Montgomery delegation is working to find the state's share of these costs as well. One example is my testimony that was provided in Annapolis to obtain the state's share of these funds just last week. So we're working diligently across the board to address these escalations and looking for your support. Truly grateful for the assistance on this important project. And, thanks to you, we were there celebrating. Can't say that enough. It was a fantastic day. Finally, one of the last components, we are seeking to make headway on the Germantown Student Services Building. So this, as it's been shared with me, project has been held in our CIP for the past 16 years. You can imagine the level of importance and everyone's excitement around this. And now is truly the time to move this crucial project forward to enable students to start smart. And what we're talking about, as you may know, navigating registration, financial aid, and counseling can absolutely be a challenge, and it's even more challenging when these are disparate places across the campus. And in essence, this would create a fantastic student services building, this one-stop situation where students could manage so many of the needs that they have in order to effectively transition or be retained at the college. Additionally, this project now includes the library for this campus as a way to bring state aid into our library modernization effort. So the project is scheduled to begin in FY24. We have been notified by the executive branch. They recommended a 6-month delay. And nonetheless, we think that we're confident. We know we can manage that delay with the appropriate expenditure schedule changes, and we will keep the completion schedule intact. So that is very exciting. And in closing, with my last few words, I just wanted to say it's thankful to get the opportunity to work with all of you. The MC team, I've realized in a short time is extremely dedicated as well. So this partnership is fantastic, and I'm looking forward to meeting more often in person so that we can continue to discuss the education needs of our county residents, the workforce needs of our local employers, and Montgomery's future, again, as we launch the next 75 years and beyond here at the college. So with that, again, I say thank you for the opportunity, Councilmember Rice. I do appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Williams. And yes, I couldn't agree with you more that some of the priorities that you identified are, I know, priorities that this committee has continued to put at the forefront. We understand how much, when it comes to student services, how important that is for folks. And so we certainly want to make sure that we're trying to keep those kinds of things on track, because we know that it's hard enough just to deal with a job and trying to keep up with your classes and all those kinds of things, and to be challenged with other kinds of things as well. You need to have a place where folks can help you to mitigate any of those obstacles, roadblocks that may stand in the way of you getting that high quality education. And so that certainly equates to our Germantown Student Services Center. But I agree from the standpoint, we have just seen delays across the board with many of our schools and many of our county projects because of construction delays, because of materials and all kinds of other things. So understanding that there is that flexibility in terms of the 6 months, which I hope will not have a significant impact on the overall delivery system for our students, I think is something that is certainly manageable. But with that, we'll certainly have that as one of our decision points, but wanted to again turn it over to Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez to kind of walk us through where we are at this point. Colleagues, I believe this will be relatively quick in terms of where we are, because again, having great staff like Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez to certainly lay everything out for us in such a cogent manner makes it really easy for us to digest. So with that, Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez.
Thank you so much, Chair Rice, and thank you for the wonderful introduction, Dr. Williams. The first few pages of the staff report provide an overview of the college's request and the county executive's recommendation. However, a lot of the points that were touched in the introductory remarks were also included in my overview, so I'm just going to quickly highlight some key points before diving into the projects themselves. So Montgomery College's original 6-year total request is approximately $347 million, which is about a 20% increase from the current amended FY21 to 26 CIP. The county executive's recommended 6-year total is approximately $327 million. And in that, he includes an affordability reconciliation PDF of $20.04 million, and that's split 50-50 between county GO bonds and state aid. And so that's approximately $10 million per funding source that he included in his affordability reconciliation. As I mentioned, a lot of the key highlights were mentioned in the introductory remarks. So I will just note that the college also submitted racial equity and social justice analysis and climate change analysis to the Office of Management and Budget and the county executive when they were delivering their recommendation. And so those can be found at circle pages 131 and 134. So moving on to the bottom of page 4, where it's titled Consent Projects, you will find a list of the college's projects that include minimal or no changes to project scope, cost, or timing from the amended FY21 to 26 CIP. And a lot of these are leveled effort projects, so they use consistent funding within each of the fiscal years. So that includes ADA compliance, the capital renewal project, college-wide physical education renovations, elevator modernization, energy conservation, facility planning, information technology, instructional furniture and equipment, network infrastructure and server operations, planning, design, and construction, site improvements, and student learning support systems. And diving into the individual projects for discussion, section D at the bottom of page 5, you will note that these projects include maybe a more significant change in cost, scope, or timing, or has included highlights that we wanted the committee to be aware of. As always, we've included any analysis related to the Infrastructure Maintenance Task Force report, or the IMTF report, that identifies acceptable annual replacement cost, or the ARC, of how much money should be budgeted annually to meet the replacement or rehabilitation of that project. And so for those that are included in the report that the college has within their project scope, you will note that inclusion of that information. So the first project is the college-wide library renovations project, and the college's request increases the 6-year total by approximately $5 million, and that's a result of identified exterior work cost increases reflected in their recently completed Part 1, Part 2 document for the Tacoma Park Silver Spring library renovation. In addition, there's funding for the Rockville Library project with design starting in fiscal year 24 and construction, furniture, and equipment costs that will be requested in fiscal years 25 and 26. The second project is the college-wide road parking lot repairs and replacement. And we wanted to note for the committee that this project is pending closeout, and that's due to their Transportation Facilities Capital Projects Fund, which is the funding source for this project, is experiencing more expenses than it is revenues at this point in time. And so items that need to be addressed for this project will be handled through other existing PDFs or projects at the college. And that fund utilizes like student fees that they collect during the year. The third project is the college-wide central plant and distribution systems project. And the college's original request showed same level of effort funding as the current FY21 to 26 CIP. However, the governor's recently awarded $937,000 in fiscal year 23 through the facilities renewal grant for projects that are included within this PDF. And so now you'll see a technical amendment of the increase of the $937,000. The fourth project is one of the big highlights for this year, and that's the East County campus. And at the request of the county executive, the college transmitted this project, which includes $500,000 in initial planning funds in fiscal year 24. The feasibility study for this East County campus is linked at the bottom of page 6, I believe, 7, I apologize. And you'll notice that while a site hasn't been identified, that they are looking at sites that border the Montgomery County and Washington, D.C. border, as well as a piece of the Montgomery County and Howard County border for the future site. And this will serve as the fourth campus for Montgomery College and include the East County Education Center and a few other centers and training programs related to the needs identified in this part of the county. The fifth project is the Germantown Science and Applied Students Phase 1 renovation. And the college's request reflects project completion punch list costs for fiscal years 23 through 24 as the project was completed in fall 2021. So this is any remaining items that need to be completed after the main construction and completion of this project. The sixth project is the planned lifecycle asset replacement. And the college's request increased fiscal year 23 funds to level of effort funding that was impacted last year and includes the FY 27 and 28 additions. And the seventh project is the roof replacement. And the 6-year total increase is primarily due to the addition of fiscal year 27 and 28 funds. However, in fiscal year 26, there is an addition of $106,000 due to escalation cost increases in the Rockville-Macklin Tower building. And finally, the last two projects prior to discussing non-recommended adjustments to meet the county executive's affordability reconciliation, I will talk about them jointly. And so that is the Tacoma Park Silver Spring Math and Science Center that was mentioned previously, as well as the Rockville Student Services Center. And the original request for the college for the Tacoma Park building did not include an increase in funds compared to the amended. And the Rockville Student Services Center project only included minimal funding in fiscal year 23 and 24 for similar project completion punch list items. However, this project is expected to be pending closeout in the future. In the Tacoma Park and Silver Spring Science Building, there has been unprecedented cost escalation increases that the college would like to address with a $5.8 million increase in fiscal year 23. And as this project is split 50-50 with the state, it would be similar where they are currently advocating for $2.9 million on the state level. And for the county portion of that 50-50, they are going to transfer it from previously appropriated funds from the Rockville Student Services Center project. Now, in the packet, you'll note that council staff is currently working with Office of Management and Budget to finalize any technical implication on this reappropriation of the previously awarded funds. However, council staff still recommends approval for this project and for the increase. and as well notes that the college agrees that a letter of support to the state would be beneficial in their pursuit of the state funding.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez. And I really want to reach out to both Ms. Schramm as well as Mr. Mills, Mr. Collette, who really have worked very hard to identify ways in which they could partner with the county, recognizing our limits when it comes to our spending affordability guidelines, the constraints on our overall CIP budget, and really trying to figure out a way to keep these major projects still on track. So just really want to thank them for all of their efforts in working with us to make sure that we can continue these important projects moving forward. Let me turn to my colleagues and see if any of them have any comments or questions about these. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is really great to be with all of you today. I very much regret not having attended the topping ceremony because it's always so exciting, especially after all those years of advocacy and extraordinary work to get us there. But I can't wait to be there when it's actually the ribbon cutting, as former Executive Leggett used to say. He liked ribbon cuttings and topping off ceremonies, but he really liked ribbon cutting. So I know it's a great thing. And it's so good to see you, Dr. Williams, Mr. Collette, somebody that I know well, who happened to work very closely when I was a member of the Board of Education, Ms. Schramm, Mr. Mills. I guess what I want to say is, number one, just, an appreciation for what the college has done, especially throughout these very difficult 2 years. Not only the faculty, the leadership, but also the students. Everybody came together so rapidly to really address and mitigate the impact of this extraordinary pandemic. And I think it's so important now that we're beginning to come back into the physical space that we also pay attention, very close attention to the needs of the CIP, notwithstanding what Council Chairman Rice said, notwithstanding the fact that we also have to be so mindful of things like our spending affordability guidelines and our debt service and things of that sort. But it's always a dance and it's always like a puzzle. The most important thing, I believe, is that we all understand the very critical role that Montgomery College plays in our workforce development, in our conversations about expanding opportunities, but most importantly in this moment in time about how we're going to address the present, but then the future. Having gone through 2 years of, I think, permanent change, understanding the pandemic has accelerated so many changes by a factor of like 5 years. Our community colleges, especially Montgomery College, is and will play a significant role in how do we shape this new frontier, if you will, given everything that has occurred during the pandemic. How work is now being perceived, and also the demands of changing a lot of the workspaces, the particular types of industries, the skill sets that employers are looking for. I mean, there's just a plethora of extraordinary changes, but also opportunities. And yes, the physical space does make a difference. The facilities make a difference. And so I just wanted to say, thank you. And of course, it's always about figuring out what we can afford and how we can make it happen. So I do understand that, this is going to be an important thing for us to take into consideration. But we'll continue to work together like we have in the past. And I know for a fact that, again, this college will always step up to do everything possible to help us, not just the students and families, but just really the county in terms of really preserving our quality of life going forward. So thank you so much. And Dr. Williams, it's really good to hear from you here in a virtual space as well.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro, and I couldn't agree with you more. Let me turn to Councilmember Jawanda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good to see you again, Dr. Williams, and the whole team, Mr. Collette and Mr. Mills and Ms. Schramm. It was great to be there for the topping off, and again, you can't overstate how great that your young student, future doctor, scientist. We should, I hope you're going to cut that speech up and put it online because everyone should see it. It was just really powerful. and just was a testament to the important work that you all do each and every day, and how this physical building, this structure, the labs, is going to serve students like that young budding doctor and scientist who's immigrated to this country. It was just like everything you want Montgomery College to be and has been. And so just really excited about that. Also very excited about the East County campus. It's kind of got a little shiver when Miss Rodriguez Hernandez was talking about it so matter of factly, like we are going to have a campus of Montgomery College in East County. And while we're making a very, I don't have to tell that Miss Councilmember Navarro this, who's our longest serving member of the council, you make these down payments on the planning, and then years later, we will have this great campus, and I can't wait. No matter where I am in the world, I'm going to be there, because that's going to be a really exciting time when that finally comes to fruition, and it's so needed. And I know we're not waiting; we're going to start programming right away. But when that actually is done, that's really going to be a long-term, really great asset, not just for Montgomery County, but as was noted, for Howard County, for Prince George's County, and even for Anne Arundel County. So I think that that this is just such an exciting thing, and I'm glad that you all were able to keep. I'm glad we were able to fully fund it. The county executive sent it over. Obviously, there's some adjustments here we're talked about. Understand the cost increases, but I think overall this is a great start to your third week, Dr. Williams. So we're gonna hopefully keep it going into the operating budget. But really appreciate the work of our staff as well, as always. So thank you, Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, Councilmember Tawando. And it's one of those where your thanks are certainly and those of Councilmember Navarro are certainly ones where we recognize we wish we could keep everything on track. And obviously, back on March 2nd, when I asked for the non-recommended reductions, that tied into, unfortunately, just recognizing the constraints that we have. So, Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of put everything with a nice, neat bow on it in terms of what's before this council, in terms of understanding that we had to make some adjustments based on some of our fiscal constraints. So we can go through the non-recommended reductions as we list out everything that the committee has before us in terms of our next decision points.
Mr. Chairman, can I had
Oh,
raised my hand again. I apologize.
Oh, sorry.
No,
yep.
no, just very quickly, because Councilmember Tawando reminded me of the East County campus, because this is what it's going to become. And it's very appropriate, because I actually was a little late. We were signing the bill for tax duplication, and it sounds really wonky, but it's an issue that we had worked on. This county had tried to work on for decades. And I was, I was reminiscing on the notion that as a freshman council member, being, having such an ambitious agenda, and very soon realizing that sometimes you just have to be super patient, and the tax duplication was one of them. But this particular proposal, this particular piece of having that presence in the East County, it just fills my heart with joy. Again, as a newly minted council member, this was a proposal that I put together, trying to figure out how could we bring so many different types of assets to the East County, as I represented that county, for that area of the county, for a year and a half. But this was something that kept coming up in community conversations, not only with the youth, but also families, as well as people who felt that, look, I come from a different country and I have some skills, but I do want to perhaps, do something a little bit different. And how come we don't have that? And so, yes, this is another example of how sometimes you do have to be patient, but it does come together, and it will become such an important component and ingredient for that area of the county that has needed for so long these kinds of infrastructure and amenities to really round everything up. So I just had to say that, because again, I call it my farewell tour, given that this is my last year. This is one more item that I know all of us will be so proud that we could deliver for this part of the county, and can't wait for that to again be open to go to the ribbon cutting wherever I might be as well. Thank you so much for indulging me.
No, thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro, and certainly something that I think is incredibly important when we recognize how much more continues to need to be done to meet the needs of our growing community. Understanding that, especially when we look at East County and all the great things that are happening there when it comes to FDA and investment, when it comes to really looking at what the future of life sciences are and building out that life sciences corridor, and understanding that those things are all commensurate with having a quality institution like Montgomery College to help further ensuring that residents of our county are tied directly into those jobs. That's what this is all about, from pre-K to J, right? So I'm just really happy to see that we continue to provide opportunities for individuals to access, ensuring that their career pathways are solid, however they may come about, right? Some may not enter directly. Some may enter the workforce and then go to community college and then enter into a new workforce. We need to make sure that all those options are solidified for each and every one of the individuals here in this county from a regionalistic perspective. And you know that all too well, Councilmember Navarro, with your role on the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, and how we continue to work strategically to make sure that all areas of our region are certainly speaking to this overall mission that we have of success for everyone. So thank you very much for pointing that out. So Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez, let's go ahead and go through the unfortunate challenges we have with requesting some of those sort of adjustments, if you will. I don't like the word non-recommended reduction. It's not like adjustments better. It sounds better. Maybe we can change the packet to call them that from now on. But anyway, let me turn to you.
Of course, thank you, Chair Rice. So the final individual project is the Germantown Student Services Center for the committee's review. And the college's original request included increases mainly due to fiscal year 27 and 28 additions that moved from the amended FY 21-26 CIP in the beyond 6-year period into the now FY 23-28 CIP recommendation. However, as I noted in the beginning, the county executive did submit that and recommend a $20 million affordability reconciliation for the college's budget and CIP. And the college has decided that their best non-recommended adjustment would be impacting this project, the Germantown Student Services Center. And that would cause about a 6-month delay for the project. However, they also note that current extensive site work needs accommodate the reduction in impact at this time. And so this Student Services Center will address the county executive's affordability reconciliation. And so that wraps up the individual project discussion, and council staff recommends approving the college's request as supported by the county executive, approving the non-recommended adjustment to the Germantown Student Services Center, as well as supporting a letter of support for the state increase for the Tacoma Park Silver Spring Math and Science Center building, and continuing discussions with OMB on that increase on the county side.
Excellent. So turning to my colleagues, and thank you very much, Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez. Without objection, are we okay with staff's recommendation for the non-recommended reductions? And then also, as we know, there will always be some puts and takes as we get a little bit closer in when it comes to some of the adjustments that we'll need to make regarding CIP. We know that there's always last minute funding that comes from the state as well, especially when it comes to addressing the Leggett Math Science Building and the like. So from that perspective, there will need to, of course, still be some adjustments. But I'm looking at my colleagues here.
I agree.
I agree.
All right.
And I would just say, Mr. Chair, 6 months.
Excellent. All right.
6 months is not bad, as far as these things go, So.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, who knows? For those who are returning, you might be able to find some way to accelerate back from that 6 months. So those kinds of things, as we saw with South Lake and with other projects, you never know what the future entails. So certainly hope that there'll be some ways in which we, might be able to get things back on track after we get out of the midst of the pandemic. So, all right. So, Ms. Rodriguez Hernandez, we have unanimous support from the ENC committee when it comes to approval as recommended by yourself. And I think, colleagues, that actually wraps up our day. So really just want to say thank you again. Again, thank you to Montgomery College and the entire team for the continued partnership. Obviously, this will not be the last time that we're talking. The county executive's budget does come out tomorrow for the operating budget. So we look forward to continuing to work with the college as we have each and every year to ensure that we're supporting both the infrastructure as well as the people and the great things that happen within Montgomery College's buildings.
All right.
All right.
Well,
So with
take
that,
care,
we
everybody.
are
Thank you.
adjourned. You guys
Thanks,
take
everybody.
care and stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, council members. Thank you, MC.